Welcome to the Ang&Geno show, where we talk about ways for you to grow your life and your business.
Welcome, everybody. Ange here.
Hello, this is Gino, and this is number 5, Ange.
We're getting there.
5th one. That's like a whole handful.
That's a good way to look at it. I like that. I mean, that sounds substantial, doesn't it?
It does. We're real podcasters now.
I know. I hope our fans are enjoying the sort of are these beginning step evolution podcasts, our foundation podcasts. We're working everything out, figuring out what we need to do and want to do.
Yeah. Well, hopefully they're listening to us because we got good content. Because there's a lot of stuff out there.
There is,
but we have
a lot of things we're passionate about that we want to share with others that we've used to help many others up until now. So it's fun to get the good stuff out and share it with others.
Yes. So there's a couple things I want to dive into, but first, you just got back from Spain.
I did. What a wonderful country. Great culture, food. People are very warm and welcoming. I can't recommend it highly enough. So yeah, if you can all find a good fare to get over there and back, it's well worth the time. Just 6 little days for me was a great break. And I kind of got to dive into some of my, what I call my big thinking work, which was really nice. That's what I do for fun on vacation, is the ideas start to flow and all the things that I don't have time for in my head with the appointments and coaching and meeting and teams, and kind of just comes out. So it was a great creativity week for me too.
Good. And so a couple podcasts ago, we talked about you were going to actually get working on your book.
Yeah, right.
We had the challenge. In Spain? Yeah.
Yeah. So that happened. Yeah. So, one of the topics I'm very interested in is helping people focus. Because I think more than ever now with technology, it's harder to focus. Every app we have in our phone is literally trying to get our attention, right? Everything's got its own sound, its own banner. And so I created a 10-day challenge for developing your focus that people can take, and across 10 days, they're going to try 10 different approaches to beginning ways to develop focus. And after those 10 days, I'll kind of have a feel for, how each of those techniques worked, because I don't think every technique works with everybody, right? So it's kind of a way to commit to 10 days. And then there's one of the kind of what I call that happy weekend quick read. So the weekend quick read is going to be the 10 chapter book going into each of the areas. I did some of the research on, making sure, it's all these things are research backed so that people know that they're doing stuff that's the right stuff, right? That's the responsibility on my part. So anyways, I got all that done, and
awesome.
I was hoping you'd ask. So so that's all good. And then the cookbook, I figured out what I need to do with the first 3 parts of this cookbook, which is really a Mediterranean lifestyle book to help people get healthier. I think we talked a little bit about if you're not eating, sleeping, and de-stressing properly, exercising, then it's hard to really better your life with ideas that we're trying to share here, right? Which is, how to be disciplined, how to grow, how to build confidence, and take the right kind of chances to be successful. Well, if you're not sleeping well, you don't have much of a foundation to build on. So anyway, so I'm working on that one. I'll keep you posted, and working on making those accessible to our people. And that'll be fun, because I know you have a book, Gino. Tell me a little bit about your book, because you're the inspiration for why I'm sort of like pumping here and to get this done.
Well, my book, I'm already started working on it. Since I challenged you, I've started working on the second book, but
well,
way too early to talk about that. My existing book, I wanted after reading hundreds of business books, I would get annoyed at the fact that many of them are just full of fluff. They'll have a few good points, but then they have, you could have summarized those 5 points in 10 pages.
Mm.
And so
Yeah.
it's like, come on, they lose me. So I found myself drawn to books with great case studies, but I didn't have a lot of great case studies for my book. So what I did is I wrote something that's like to the point, and it's got some exercises and stuff for people to do. It's really business focused. Um, it's called Free Customers.
Mm.
Um, I,
That's a great
I,
title.
I, thank you. Yeah, I know it's only a 3 hour read at talking pace, so we could read it faster. But I did the audiobook, so I know it's 3 hours, um, which
That's
is what I
great.
wanted. I think unless you're reading an autobiography or a novel, quick is better.
Yeah.
Um, let's get to the
Yeah,
point.
you're right, because I think there is a lot of stuff in books where they justify things or they describe it 4 different ways. And I'm like you and I are just, we want to grab it and go, right? And we really
Yeah.
want to give our people the tools. We don't need them hanging around page after page. And yeah, and I think, it's interesting how you turned yours into an audiobook. I think that's a really great idea. I think, and I want to encourage our people listening. I think we all have a book in us. There's either, there's whether it's fiction or nonfiction. I think every life has such an amazing story or experience that allows people to be some sort of expert on some aspect of their life, and I love that you've got this idea around free customers, right? And I think that actually this notion of customers is part of a topic that we talked about today, right? You've got a topic to
Well,
unfold for
yeah.
us.
So let's dive into that here, because my question to you had to do on the personal side. In business, non-negotiable standards. Okay, taking care of customers.
Mm,
As a business leader, if we decide this is what we're going to do in business, we're going to, make widgets. Okay, we're going to make the best widgets on the market. And that means that we don't cut corners here. We use the best materials, whatever it is. It's not negotiable. If you can't get that fine material, only a secondary material is available. Do you put that out in your market with the risk of ruining your reputation? No, it's
yeah.
non-negotiable. So um, I thought about how in business, and sometimes leaders fail to understand what non-negotiable means. It's like,
Mm,
yeah, well, we used to do that. Well, why'd you stop? Well, they never have a good reason, and then it's hard to sometimes get back there. Whereas if you lay it out to the company, especially when you're hiring people, this is who we are.
yeah.
You know, if you can't be this, then you're probably not going to fit in. But
Yeah. Well, I think the idea of non-negotiables is very important. And I think if people are thinking about non-negotiables and trying to figure out like how to connect that with other things, I think non-negotiables then ties into what are the company values, right? Because those are company values are things that companies are going to adhere to. And like you said, when they hire people and they say, hey, look, here's our non-negotiables, here's our company values, that helps build the culture, right? So that people
mhm.
are rowing the boat, working, engaging, communicating in the same direction. And I think that's so important. So important. It's funny. I wonder how many of our listeners don't know what a widget is. I remember I didn't learn about what the heck a widget was. I was reading a case study when I was in grad school and they said widgets. I'm like, what the heck is a widget? And it's such a funny term. I don't know if anyone under 30 might know what a widget is, but a widget
is
is
a whatchamajig.
it's a thingamajig. It's just like whatever. It's like it's a placeholder for, yeah, we make something, but a widget is not a service, right? So a widget is always in reference to a company that like makes something. So if you make radios or you make car parts, like the random thing they use for that then is that word, this placeholder called widget. So for those of you that are out there going, yeah, I'm going to go buy a widget. I want a widget. It's a make believe thing, isn't it, Gino?
Well, so there's a fun story about that, a widget. So I was working with a company that was part of this peer group, and the peer group would say, "Hey, here's what you should do for your yellow page advertising." I'm dating myself there when we talk yellow pages.
Oh, and I love the old yellow pages.
So they had this ad, and it was widget heating and air is what it was, right? And it said, so all you had to do is replace the widget logo with your logo, and you had a great yellow
Mm.
page ad. So they sent the sample to the yellow page person along with the logo. And what got published? Widget heating and air.
Is that their company?
That's what got, no, the company was a totally different
Oh no. They did the wrong one. Oh
yellow
man,
page.
they just kept it. Oh, that is funny. So the placeholder got the placeholder. I thought maybe they were starting their company out and they decided to just leave it widget. Oh, but they
No,
published the wrong
it
one.
was. So of course they didn't have to pay for the book, but you know, didn't really
But
help them
it
either.
was it would have been nice if it was the right name. Now they had to say also known as Widget Air, right?
Yeah.
Oh man. I
uh,
hope it was a big ad at least, right? To get some
I don't remember. I think
traffic.
it's at least a page. Yeah. Anyway.
So quick
Um,
question. What's your book sounds really interesting, and I'd love our readers to kind of excuse me, our listeners to maybe think about your book. What's give me one tip on what is a free customer?
well, so many businesses back when I had my ad agency, I would get a call from a business saying, okay, we need more customers. And then as I go investigate, I dig into the company before I'll write an ad for them. I find out that, well, you you're not good at answering the phones.
Mm.
You've got a poor sales process. You guys don't follow up. You know, your product sucks.
Birth
Uh,
of the non-negotiables right there, Gino.
yeah.
I think that's probably really closely tied, isn't it?
So if you could just do all those other things, well, you're going to get free customers, right?
Mm.
Because one thing people don't realize, if I always ask the question, when people are saying, "Oh, I just need people to know about me," and it's like, well, we need more customers. I says, are customers not coming to you because they don't know about you, or because they do know about you?
Mm.
You've been in business 20
Wow.
years and you think they don't know who you are yet? I think the problem's something else. So we dig in, and I've had huge impacts. I remember one business I went into, and just the answering phone and sales process, we had I think it was like 212. It was over 200% increase. And we hadn't
Wow.
run an ad yet. We just, managed the business better.
Oh, so you help them pick the right things to be consistent about. So another way that's really cool, I think non-negotiables help create consistency, right? Because a consistent customer experience is really important for business, isn't it?
Well, let me answer that by asking you, what's, there's like the two biggest restaurant chains in the world. What are they?
One's
McDonald's
a
and Subway.
Yep, and they're very consistent and you can go into any one of those anywhere in the world and have the exact same experience.
Yeah. Now, are they the
Agreed.
biggest because they have the best burgers or sandwiches?
Nope.
Not at all. It must be
No.
the best service.
Maybe even that. Maybe the cheapest. Maybe it's the French fries. The French fries
Eh,
are pretty darn good.
yeah. I'm not going to say it's not good, but it's not the best.
It's not good
So
for you, but what we know now, right? But they've built a whole chain, a whole world around fast, convenient, and consistent.
there it is. That's more
Yeah.
important, obviously, than great, best tasting, friendliest service.
But those are their non-negotiables, aren't they?
Yes.
And it doesn't have to, you can't do everything. What is it that there's, I remember reading a book a long time ago, The Three Immutable Laws of Marketing, that you can't be all three. You can be two of the three, but it's impossible to be three of the three. One is you can either be the cheapest, the fastest,
Yeah.
or the best.
Yeah. It's either price, quality, or service. Pick any two.
Is that right? So say your three. Say your three.
It's price, quality, or service. You pick any two.
Price, quality, or service. There you go. Yeah. So, yep, I think we've read the same books, which is good. There's some
Yeah.
immutable laws of marketing.
Yeah.
And I think people have to think about what, and this is where when we see teams that aren't aligned, or people trying to run a company together in smaller the business, like even like privately owned businesses where a husband wants one thing and a wife wants the other in a small business, like they're maybe trying to do things that can't happen at the same time in their business or the stage of the business that they're at. And so you could see how it's important for people to talk out their non-negotiables so they're all rowing the boat metaphorically in that same direction.
Well, every business, there's a platform. In fact, this is something I cover in my book. There's I call it the business building blocks. I got the four base foundation blocks, and then I got three, and then you got your, before you. And by the way, these often get missed, and it's the simple, like, one, people don't even understand what marketing is. That you got to understand what marketing is, and that's everything in your business. Number two is what's possible. So many businesses don't know what's possible, and that's what my job as a business coach is probably the I don't know, the best, biggest, most impactful thing I do with business owners is show them, hey, this is possible, because they didn't even know. One business walking in, they think 3 million is a big business, and now they're 30 million. It's like they didn't know that was in the market to be a company that big, because nobody had ever been that big before. I have a couple others too, and I actually have notes right here. Oh, non-negotiable standards. And
da, da, da.
Yeah. And then what is your platform? And that's another really hard one. A lot of businesses don't really know.
How would you define platform? How do you define platform for our listeners?
How are you going to be different than your competitors?
I call that distinction, right? What's the distinction? And that's really cool that it can also be called a platform. That helps me. That's a neat expansion on these great ways of looking at it. Because points of distinction is what is special, different, or unique.
Yeah. I mean, you talk to a lot of small business guys. Well, we're going to give the best customer service. So you think the other guy down the street didn't say the same thing when he decided to go in business?
How do you make good on that, right?
Yeah. So how are you going to back that? Like,
and so definitions
times,
are really important, and I bet setting very clear-cut examples are helpful.
Oh yeah. There's so many unsubstantiated claims out there just in advertising. People say, the world's best coffee, right? Where's the awards? I love that in Elf, the movie Elf.
Oh my gosh, that just came up. It was on my trip. It just came up. Like, yeah, right. The world's best cup of coffee. And he's like, this is not the best cup of coffee.
Yeah. So people do it all the time. It's oh God, I can't even think of any off the top of my head, but I get so disgusted with them when I see them or read them. You see some company logo, and then some unique selling proposition is what's supposed to be underneath the logo. And it's just some most trusted, the city's most trusted company. Says who? What does that mean? Doesn't mean anything. So finding out what your platform is. And by the way, that's the hardest thing for a business to really do. Is find out what, there's some, let's say FedEx, for instance, they knew exactly what their platform was going to be absolutely positively overnight, right? That was it. Simple platform, simple message to deliver. But if you're going to start a new hair salon, how's your hair salon going to be so much better than everybody else's? Free foot rubs while you're getting your, waiting for your color to set, or
whatever it takes.
I don't have hair. I don't really know what goes on in those things.
You get a very short foot rub, Geno.
Yeah.
Because there's no time at all for you.
Yeah. Anyway, that's those they're four important things, and a lot of businesses overlook those.
Mm.
And what I found too, Ange, and this is, I've been talking too much. I always like your perspective of this, because our podcast here is about growing your business and growing your life. And
Yeah.
for me, it's very synonymous. What I do for me is what I do for my business, my clients, right? I'm a business coach. So I got to be working on me if I'm going to be able to help others work on themselves, which is very much what you do in your world as well, right?
Mm.
You got to be good at managing you before you can tell people how to manage themselves.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But they're
No,
saying,
it
so
is
like,
important.
so my question, back to non-negotiable standards, since that's where we started.
Mm.
Some people take that literal in their life, which in some cases is awesome. In many other cases could be devastating because they just totally limit possibilities. Because,
Mm.
I had a friend who, when we're single, he's saying, yeah, I'm looking for a woman that's, around this age, around this height, with this hair color. And I'm like, that's too many
Well, and
rules.
he's picking, and it's interesting because he's picking some very, um, you know,
Superficial.
they're yeah, exactly superficial, and they're like, you know, there are certain laws of attractiveness that for wherever you are in the world, your mate needs to kind of match you, and those things are there. There's research to substantiate like finding the right mate for attractiveness, etc. But to only go based on those things is like saying, well, we're going to be in business. We're going to have the prettiest building. We're going to have the prettiest building and we're going to have the nicest flowers in front of the building. I mean, when you pick somebody for looks alone, that's basically like what you're saying, and
Yeah.
and people would say, yeah, but like that doesn't say anything about the people inside the business or what the business does. Is it an honest business? So when we pick people for the outside and only the outside, that's a limiting factor, right? But someone that wants that and only wants that, I mean, they'll probably find somebody. Well, first of all, they better be, what's the word? They better be very similar to what they're looking for, because you can't be, it's harder. You got to be, there has to be mutual attraction, right? And I think some people want something that might not be, attractive. And I'm not going to sit here and say what is considered attractive, because there is love out there for everybody. Everybody can find happy, mad love. And regardless of the shape, size, whatever, love comes in all kinds of shapes. But you got to find the right one for you. It has to be mutual. And sometimes one person falls infatuation and the other person really falls in love. Well, they're not both in love. The infatuation is going to wear off, right? So people pick each other for the wrong thing. I think you and I talk a little bit about how we want to help people develop their life. If we think about what non-negotiable standards are, I think it is about having a value system for yourself. Being clear about who you are. You don't have to be, your value system doesn't have to be perfect, right? Like you can just say, we're going to show up on time. That may be like all we can do, but we know what we can do well. And I think when people grow best, it's when they grow through the strengths that they have. Don't start by trying to be everything that you're absolutely not. I mean, you got to put some money in the bank. I always tell people, like, well, I can't do this and I can't do that yet. And I say, yeah, but let's look at what you can do. Because if people overlook what they've got, that's their money in the bank. And I tell people, you got to know what you're good at. And that's like understanding what your current value system is. Someone might have like a really wonderful way of staying calm in a storm, so that's something to bank on in life, and they may go, yeah, but I'm not assertive enough or this. I'm like, okay, we'll get there. You'll get there. But let's look at the skill set that you've got. So I always love building what people already have and help them feel good about what they have, because you can't feel good about you can't feel good about something that isn't really there, right? Some people want to build, and a lot of these new fly by night coaches, they're out there. they're like, oh, they do their little Instagram, like, hey, I'm going to fix your life. And it's like, well, who are they? What's their experience? What's their background? What's their proving ground? And they'll go around and they'll pump people up full of great ideas. But then after that balloon kind of deflates, people don't know what's inside them that is going to carry them on. So the real work is not hearing some powerful message and the 7 messages that will unlock your future. It's what's that going to hook into? Anyways, so that's some of this. So I feel like the values are the non-negotiables for ourselves lead to, good habits. What is it? I don't know who said this, but it says, sow an action, reap a habit, build a habit, get a value, find your values, build a character, have your character build a life. It's like some beautiful thing that with, simple actions, consistency, like your
Mhm.
customers, your clients have to be consistent to their customer. But I think our own consistency of, you don't have to be perfect, but pick the things that are, maybe you're going to sleep well, you're going to work out every day, you're going to honor your promises. Start there, right? That's great discipline. And so yeah, I think non-negotiables are important. I don't think we focus on those a lot in life. I think people worry more about getting the right car, getting the right handbag, going to the right restaurants, and they're not building the inside. And I feel that's where there's a lot of loneliness going on. It's we may have talked about this already, but 18 to 24-year-olds are the loneliest people in the United States of all the demographics. UCLA does, they partner with Cigna Health, and I think they run this study every 2 years, Gino. They send out their UCLA loneliness scale to everyone that Cigna has access to in the country. It's a big demographic, very
Mm.
representative of the US population if you think of all of Cigna's insurers. And every year that they did this, it was always the demographic that was the geriatric demographic. I don't know where the cutoff was, maybe 65 plus or 75 plus, but it was always the people that were kind of like at that end of the scale where they're losing spouses, they're losing
Yeah,
jobs. Like
that
it's
makes sense.
lost.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
exactly. It makes sense. Life changes when you get to that end of things, for better, for worse, it does. But I can't remember if it was like 2016 or 2018 they ran it. The loneliest demographic were the 18 to 24-year-olds. So, okay, so
Wow.
for me, yeah, right. So they're socially disconnected. If they're socially disconnected, they're also not connected to themselves, because that saying, show me who your 5 friends are and I'll show you who you are. So if we're not connecting to people in the real world, we're not building we don't know who we are either without this social connectivity. You can watch people all day long on Instagram, and soon I guarantee you those people are all going to be avatars, because you're going to be able to pick an avatar, have AI say all your words. There's programs out there right now. So we're not even going to, believe it or not, we're not even going to be looking at real people anymore on Instagram, because no one's going to think that they're good looking enough or that they can present well enough. And it's going to be wrong. Let me give you something why being perfect and perfect looking isn't good. Early on, when you study art and statues and sculpture, the Greeks mastered the perfect form. We talk about the perfect measurements and the perfect body, the perfect facial features, the distance between the this and the that. And the sculptor sculpted these perfect humans. And what they found was that they weren't very interesting. And they realized that they had to shift sculpture so that there was something that was exaggerated, maybe like a hook nose, or a crooked jaw, or large hands or long toes, or something that was what's imperfect. I think imperfect is perfect, but they found that these perfect things of these statues were not visibly interesting. They never lingered, because what the eye does is it stops on the imperfection, but that means that we're lingering and we're looking at each other
Yeah.
longer. So when we all go to these, I'm warning everybody, don't pick an avatar. Stay real. You know, I think, we think, marketing or the American consumerism has us believing that you got to be between 20 and 30, have perfect features, lips, eyes, whatever, and then you're going to be attractive. I'm telling you, that's going to get so old looking at perfect features. We're going to be more
Yeah.
interested in the unique face, because if everybody's perfect, it's going to get boring to the eye. And we're like, beauty is going to be attainable and viewable, right? So it's going to be the unique face. That's just like, you get some of these rock stars like Dylan and like some dudes that are like, wow, these are like rough looking dudes, but you know what? They're interesting and they're doing something that moves people. And it doesn't matter what people look like at the end of the day, So anyways, I know I've kind of gone off in a kind of an interesting direction, but these are the kind of things that I'm thinking about a lot. I'm trying to AI is going to change the world,
Hmm.
and it's going to trip people up in a bad way if they don't think about how it could be good for us to reject it, to do something that goes around it, which is why I say being imperfect is going to be beautiful. Being
Well,
human is going to be
you
beautiful.
you just touched on something that is I found to be well. First, just go to your sculptures.
Mm.
Rodin's The Thinker. What's interesting about it is how he's sitting. He's got his one elbow across on the opposite knee. Just it's no one would ever sit like that. Michelangelo's David. The
Mm.
head is too big, but
Yes.
it was for the perspective. When you're looking at other tall statues, the head's going to look. Anyway, just you know, David Byrne, Talking Heads. Remember, he had the big, really oversized shoulder pads. What was that? Made
Yes.
his head look tiny. And in marketing, if it's predictable, they're not going to
Mm.
hear it.
Mm.
That's what makes comics successful. A
Mm.
good joke is when you're expecting one, you know, the next line you're expecting to won't be one thing, and then it's something entirely different,
Mm.
but still makes sense. Then it's
Yeah.
and so you're right. We don't want that,
Yeah.
but I got to tell you something about AI that is scary. So I watched the thing in 60 Minutes. I've been studying about this stuff. My son and his business is dealing with AI, and the human side, so he helps manage pay-per-click ads for companies. And so it's these AI, deciding what ads get seen. In fact, they put them together, and without going too many details. So anyway, it's got me interested. I went into that chat GBT and I said, okay, write me a poem about cycling and spring. And I was blown away at how human it actually was.
Mm.
I'm not saying it
Mm.
was Robert Frost or anything, but it was like, wow, that is
Yeah.
better than I
And
could
it's
have done.
it's it's a beautiful, yeah, okay, but let's talk about that. Okay, so it's better than you could have done, but for any of us that can go back to the ninth grade when we had to write a haiku, we had to write a poem in iambic pentameter. Well, I can't remember what that is, but I remember the phrase. Like, there was a certain joy in picking the words and thinking about the idea. And what people are valuing is the product. But what's very sad is, okay, we're losing connection with a part of our brain that got joy out of doing that. So I teach at UCLA. I teach memory courses. And I explain it like this, Gino. If you imagine that our brain is like a big conglomerate company with a lot of warehouses, storage, computer sheds. Just imagine like the biggest company in the world. That's our brain. And it's got warehouses and different areas of specialty. And imagine if Like all of a sudden, the part of our brain that had to remember phone numbers, guess what? Does that part of our brain have to do anything for that now? No, because the phone remembers the phone numbers. Well, let me tell you, the brain is a really good businessman. He's not going to keep a warehouse open for nothing. So when we stop using our brain for these things, we devolve. And so the challenge I want to help people know is, yes, the computer can write a better poem, but writing poetry is great for us as humans. It is what always makes us distinctively human. It's not to solve the problem, it's to work on the problem.
But the scary part is, Ange, is it's going to be hard to determine between what was generated by human and what is computer.
Yes, but the people that generated the work will be better people.
Oh, yeah. If we're talking two different things, oh, it's always
Yes,
going
we
to be
are.
better.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we are. We are. Meaning the human that can write an A paper that no one figures out was written by AI, it's their loss, right? Versus the person
Right.
who has the self-confidence, the capability, and the determination and journey of having written that paper themselves. We all Google a little research. It's always a little look. The Encyclopedia Britannica was always our original AI, right? I
Right.
mean, like, we've always sought information to store information, and that's how we pass it on. Um, so I think it's interesting, but I think more about, like, when we think about that loneliest generation, I think we're going to see loneliness, depression, and anxiety expand exponentially with AI, because the mind and the body and the soul will no longer be engaged. So those are things. That's why I tell people, the realness of longevity and life success is all about relationship. And AI robs us of relationship because we won't solve problems together. We'll just go to Chat GPT,
Yeah.
right? But I'll always call a human to talk about something because it's a lot more fun.
Yeah. But back to your comment about the college age kids or high school to college age being the loneliest group now. I'm thinking that was such a wonderful time for me in my life. And it was a
Mm,
hard time family wise. I mean, high school, we were poor. We almost got, we were almost homeless. I mean, we were
mm,
packed up, ready to move into the streets, as how close it was. And
wow.
um, I was still happy. I never felt lonely. I shouldn't say I was happy at that moment, but I never felt lonely.
Mm,
I always had friends, close friends. In fact, I just last night was with a friend I've known since junior high, and we're talking about how much we value this friendship that we have. You know,
mm,
I know if I ever need anything, I can call him. He will kill for me. And
mm.
vice versa. It's I'm no, we're not hitmen, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, no, I
um,
know. He take a bullet for you kind of guy,
there you go.
right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So it's and what you realize when you get older, that's the stuff that matters.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
but
But what's sad is these kids don't have that wonderful, joyful, you have your family, whatever, no one's family's perfect. Let's get over that. So when I talk about family, I'm not talking about, leave it to beaver. You have your family, good, bad, or indifferent. They got you, if they got you to college or college age 18, and if you're, fed, clothed, and had a roof over your head, you had a good family. Every family's got stuff, and humans can rise above everything. And that's so true. We see incredible stories of people surviving challenges. So, however you get to 18, it's an amazing place in the world to go out and try things on and find people to create with. And to think that, these 18-year-olds to 24-year-olds are now lonely, and, do
yeah.
they, yeah, that's a heartbreaking thing. Like, are they missing? They're missing. Do they not have the social skills they need? Do they not have the competence they need? I don't know what it is. There's no one answer.
Well, they're spending their time on devices,
Yeah. Wasting time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
when some are learning stuff that so they get strong opinions about the stuff they were looking for, which
Hmm.
isn't a bad thing, but there's no one to argue with
Yeah.
to
And they get
balance you.
opinions about things handed to them without having gone to experience what is that would give them that opinion, right? So they
Yeah.
say, hey, take this opinion and swallow it. It's like saying, hey, take a strawberry pill, fight for strawberries, even though you've never gone out and tasted a strawberry or figured out that you either, but you just all of a sudden say, well, I don't like strawberries because, well, that's just what you do. You don't like strawberry. I'm like, well, did you ever eat a strawberry? Well, you got to go try the world. And 18 to 24 is where you try all kinds of ideas on for size. And I feel like we get robbed of our ability to choose our own ideas now, that you're either the in idea or you're the out idea or the cool idea or that's not the cool idea. But no one's figuring it out for themselves anymore. It's kind of sad.
You
It's
just
sad.
reminded me of a scene in the movie Good Will Hunting where Matt Damon's character is going in to see Robin Williams, the shrink, and I don't want to spoil the movie. I think everybody's seen that great movie by now.
Mm,
Um, but he's just so smart, and he's picking apart Robin Williams stuff and uh, pissed Robin Williams off or whatever his
mm,
character's name was, the doctor. Uh, but then the next day they get together. I just realized you're a kid. You don't know this. You don't know what it's like to see your friend die or your wife. You've never done this. You've never had those experiences, and it was powerful. And
mm.
the fact that a kid, basically, Matt Damon, and it was two kids that wrote that movie too, which, you know, uh,
Yeah. It is
any,
amazing. It is
anyway, it
amazing.
makes me think of what you're saying is just so many miss out on the beauty in just life, the
Yeah.
amazement.
Well, and it's that beauty of life and discovery that helps us heal from, the indescribably bad things that humans have done and will always do to each other. You go back through time, you know, humans have always done horrific things to each other. It's a very, hard thing to explain as a psychologist how we are that way. I'm a big believer in, being able to feed yourself good and find joy. And
Ange,
yeah.
there, that's our next podcast.
Mm.
Because well, we should probably wrap this one up, but you just opened a door for me that I wanted to ask you about. I'm always throughout the week, something will come up. I'm like, I need to ask Ange about that.
Oh, I
You
love it.
you just touched on one for me. So can
Let's pick back
we
up on the
revisit
next
that?
one.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's hold that thought, everybody.
Yes.
Hold that thought.
Very good. Okay. So another fun one, Ange.
Same here, Gino. It's always good to get together. I hope our listeners hung on for the ride today and learned a
Yeah.
little bit something about us, but also maybe about themselves.
Yeah, we were all over the place today.
Yeah, we were. We were. Never a dull moment.
All right. Until next time.
You got it.
All right.
Take care.
Bye.